Hi, I'm Jasmine, the sequel, and I am not relatable. A special thank you to my patrons, Wild Rose, Lauren Chris, That British Unicorn, Jam Beans, Debbie Elliott, and D. Higgins. So today is another What I Eat in a Day review. Today we're talking about Cassie from Thrift. She is a makeup content creator. She's fantastic. I've actually followed her for a little while. I haven't seen everything in her catalog, and she was one of the first people who introduced mukbangs to me. And around that time, I think Trisha Paytas might have already done hers. I don't remember exactly what time it was, but when she started doing them, I kind of had enjoyed them because it was more like chit-chatty, talking back and forth. And then I looked up more content creators, and I really got into that whole mind frame of just like sitting down and eating a meal with somebody who wasn't physically there with me. And then, of course, it became the grotesque horror show that it is today. So I yeeted myself out of that community so fast, you don't even know. So today we're going to talk about a video that she uploaded a little while ago. It's her What I Eat in a Day review. So in case you guys don't know, Cassie is a vegetarian. She eats more plant-based and vegan at home almost, and then when she's outside, she's a little bit more flexible. She eats more vegetarian meals. She doesn't eat meat ever, from what I've seen. And I think that's fantastic. As you guys know, I've said it before in a video, but I'll say it again in case anybody has me confused. I think that being an ethical vegan is by far the superior way to be. It is better for the environment, it's better for the animals, it's better overall in terms of everything. It is not natural for anyone who's gonna argue with me on this. It's just not natural. But that doesn't mean anything to me. I mean, I'm wearing contacts right now, and you know, I get my hair cut funny ways, and I get my hair colored, and I've got, 7 piercings? None of that's natural either. So like, who am I to sit here and complain about the fact that veganism isn't natural? And at least veganism has a great cause behind it. So you're never gonna find me disagreeing with that. Veganism is by far the best alternative lifestyle that there is, especially when it comes to both the environment and when it comes to morals, right? That being said, it's not easy, and the recidivism rates on veganism is very hard. Vegetarianism, the way that Cassie does it, is actually much easier, and the bulk of the work is actually done by being vegetarian, not necessarily vegan, right? I can understand being vegan, but the bulk of the work is by far in reducing like the meat consumption that you have, and not necessarily like the little bits of butter that you might eat, milk that you might have, or the eggs that you might have, right? I mentioned this right up at the get-go so that you guys are aware of kind of how she eats and what she eats, and also so that I can point out a couple of things that she has that are maybe missing in her diet. And when you are eating an alternative method, when you're eating in an alternative lifestyle, you have to keep in mind that there might be things that you are missing and sort of eat to compensate for that.
To start, I usually, lately anyways, have just been having 2 meals a day. I guess it's called intermittent fasting. Not that I'm doing it consciously, but that's just kind of how it works out. So for breakfast, what I have been doing, basically just, melt the butter in the pan, and then I always do butter on one side of the bread so that I can just flip the bread easy in the pan instead of having to melt more butter. So once the butter's melted, I put down the side of the bread that didn't have any butter on it. I let that brown get nice and golden toasty, and then flip it when it's ready. Brown the other side, it's already got butter on there, so it turns out just so perfectly buttery and toasty and golden brown with just the tiniest little bit of a char on there. How I cook it, I just do a couple of pieces of that. I personally love the brown berry bread. I have always loved that bread. It is so grainy and delicious. Really, that's about it. I just go ahead and whatever fruit I've got on hand, I just have some strawberries at the moment, so I had gone ahead and just chopped off the tops of some strawberries, and then put a tiny bit of peanut butter over each piece of toast. I also chug a huge thing of water, which you guys usually see in like a live stream or that sort of a thing. It's a big boy. I think it's either 64 or 68 ounces. I drink 1 to 2 of those every day, depending on how much I'm working out or how hot it is, that sort of a thing.
So for breakfast, she has 2 slices of, I think she said, brambleberry bread with peanut butter on them, and a side of some fruit. I think that's great. I think that this looks like a really delicious breakfast. She's got some fat and some protein from the peanut butter. She's got some of those satiating carbs from the bread. I actually looked at this bread. This bread's pretty high in fiber as well, so she's getting that. Again, she's getting some nutrients from her fruit, and she's getting some more additional fiber from that as well, and some quick energy from the fruits as well, because they've got an easier digestible form of sugar. All that said, I still think she can up maybe the protein in there like a tiny bit, maybe pair it with like a tofu scramble, or if you're okay with eggs, maybe have a couple of eggs, maybe do like a tofu smoothie. I've said before that I like to make smoothies with, rather than Greek yogurt, I'll add like half a block of tofu to it, and with other fruits you can't even taste it. It's got a ton of protein in it. Maybe try that. I think that would really help increase the satiety of this breakfast and might keep you sustained for longer, especially because Cassie mentions later on that she often tends to skip lunch and she'll just have like a snack in the middle. So if you're going to do that, and if you know that you're prone to sort of forgetting to eat a meal, maybe try and make the meals that you do have a little bit bigger, a little bit more satiating, just so that you are planning for when you don't have that second meal, right? I would say it's still better to try and plan and have that meal, still have maybe something quick and easy and ready to go, something that stays on your table, maybe like trail mix or something, so it's easy to eat and it's not distracting you from work. But if you really can't do that, then yes, plan as well as you can, both for breakfast and for dinner, to compensate for that missing meal.
So I am constantly just drinking water throughout the day, and if I get hungry, you know, I'll have maybe a handful of nuts. I've got some really delicious nuts right now from this place called, oh no, what is it called? It's like Minnesota Nuts or something. You can see it on the screen. They make so many good nut creations. Anything you want. You want chocolate covered nuts, you want sweet sugary covered nuts, you want just traditional nut mixes. They are so good. They're so expensive, but they were recently on sale at my grocery store, so I went ahead and treated myself. So, you know, I'll have a handful of nuts, I'll have a handful of trail mix, I'll have a handful of something to satiate me through the day if I need it. Otherwise, it just comes up until dinner time, and then it's time for dinner.
Yay, nuts! I said it before, but I think nuts are a great snack for almost any time. Nuts have all built in, all of the components that you need to have a very satiating snack. So they've got a ton of fiber in them, they've got a lot of healthy fats in them, and they've got protein in them, which is generally the three things that you need to keep satiated and satisfied for a long period of time. I don't know how much of this she had. I'm gonna guess an ounce or 2 ounces. These are candied nuts, so you've also got a little bit once more of that quick acting like sugar there to give you like a little bit of a pep and a little bit of a boost if you don't like having coffee. I would also say, make this a little bit more satiating, add a little fruit in there. Have this with a little bit of grapes, have this with a little bit of, like strawberries, raspberries. You can get some of those delicious antioxidants that keep your skin looking nice and young. That's not why my skin is nice and young. My skin looks like this because I wear 4 pounds of foundation all day, every day.
It's really easy. You just need some pasta. I personally did some bow ties because they taste the best. I'm joking. Tastes like any other pasta. You pick whatever you want. I personally just like the bow ties. And then some Alfredo sauce. I like saucy pasta, so I did 2. And then some sun-dried tomatoes, some broccoli, and if you're not a vegetarian, do some normal chicken. If you're a vegetarian like me or vegan, get some vegan chicken strip tender thingies. Delightful. So I just go ahead, get some water boiling for the pasta, and then while that is going, I just, as I said, pound of butter a day. It'll do you good. I'm joking, please don't eat that much butter every day. Put about a tablespoon of butter into the pan, get that nice and melted, and also throw the faux chicken in there and cook them on medium heat until they're brown, nice and golden brown on each side. I also personally don't mind if there's a teeny bit of a char on them, but you know, nice and golden brown. And then once they are there, I go ahead and toss in some minced garlic, you know, a couple tablespoons or so, maybe more. And then you can go in and toss in some sun-dried tomatoes. I just go ahead and toss that in, let those brown just a little bit, you know, get things fragrant. So once you can smell these sun-dried tomatoes cooking, then I forgot to mention, but you should have microwaved your broccoli. I mean, you can use fresh broccoli too, but this is, like I said, just what I had on hand. So microwaved the broccoli, drained the bag, and then I just went ahead and tossed those florets into the pan. Once again, just a couple more minutes to get things fragrant and a little bit of brown on them. Also, while you're doing all of this, you can always add a little bit more butter or whatever else to make it so things aren't getting sticky. And then after that, you're just gonna dump in your 1 or 2 things of Alfredo sauce, depending on how saucy you like things, and just mix that up. You will see the Alfredo turning a different color from the sun-dried tomato, and then dump your noodles into the pan. I know, it's very close, this pan that I have. I would love for it to be even like a centimeter deeper. But it does work to dump in 1 box of pasta noodles in there, and then you just mix it all up to get everything nice and coated, and voila, you have meals, or at least you have dinners or lunches, whatever you want to eat it as, for the next 6-7 days, I would say.
All right, so this looks like a pretty good meal. She said that she divides it up into about 6 Tupperware containers, and she can have, you know, that meal. I personally could not do that because I don't like eating the same meal every day. I can have like the same food like 2 days in a row, but after that I'm just bored. And that's a really big issue I have. So maybe a good way to do it would be to not add the sauce to it, or maybe keep the sauce separate and keep the pasta separate, so that this way you can freeze it, because especially if you can't freeze pasta, right? So if you make a bunch of pasta, maybe you can make a large version of the sauce, and you make a bunch of pasta and keep it in the fridge and just keep switching out the sauce. I think I said something about this on my Instagram too, where the good way to switch up your meals without really having to do too much extra work is to like switch out like the toppings or the dressing on a salad, and it can really change up the flavor profile enough so that it doesn't feel like you're just eating the same foods over and over again, especially if you're like me and you get bored of food very fast. That said, it's a pretty yummy looking meal. You've got fat from the Alfredo in there. You've got a lot of fiber in there, both from the pasta, which if it's not whole wheat, you should get whole wheat pasta. And you've got fiber from the broccoli that she's adding in there as well. Additionally, you've got those Gardein chicken strips, which are fantastic. If you guys have never tried them, they're a great vegan alternative to actual chicken. So she's got the protein from there too. If you don't like those, a really good way of getting a lot of protein into your pasta is maybe getting something like the protein pasta. So they've got ones made of chickpeas. The texture for that can be a little weird, so that's totally up to you. But alternatively, you could also add like a little bit of nutritional yeast to this. Maybe make it with tofu instead. Make maybe like an Indian pasta with paneer. That's very delicious. I've made stuff like that. I actually have a recipe for a chicken tikka pasta if you guys are interested. It's so good. Y'all must think I'm crazy, but it is actually fantastic. One thing I will say though is that there's a lot of carbs in the pasta, right? A really good way that I have found to cut down on the amount of carbs that I eat, especially when I am having pasta, is to just do a halvesies. So I will have half of actual regular pasta. So I'll get like spaghetti or linguine or whatever, and then I'll do half like zoodles. So I'm getting a lot of nutrients from the zucchini, but I'm also not eating quite as many carbs as I would like, and that really helps me still feel satiated and satisfied, while at the same time making sure that I'm not eating well over my caloric limit.
It's mandatory. I would say 2% of my days are spent without chocolate in them. The other 98%, there's chocolate somewhere in there. I have to. It's delicious. I love it. And if you can find these Sanders caramels, oh my God. Be ready. I get them at Costco. Get your huge Costco sized tub. And then, that lasts me at least a couple months. I just have 1 or 2, depending on how much chocolate I want. But since they're dark chocolate, they're just rich and they're so creamy. I don't feel like I need to have 200 of them like I would if I had like little Butterfinger bars or something sitting around.
That looks like a fantastic dessert, and she's a girl after my own heart. I too love a little bit of chocolate. My chocolate generally tends to be in the form of adding like a little bit of it to something else. So like chocolate shavings on top of a little bit of frozen yogurt, or having it in my coffee. That's generally my preference, but that looks delicious. Those caramels look so good. I think I've had them before. I'm not 100% sure, but they look real tasty, and I would I'm with her. I love dark chocolate, love caramel, love sea salt on all of my desserts. So 10 out of 10 from me on that. So all in all, I think that her day looks pretty good. I would definitely say that she should not skip a meal. Despite her not saying anything about weight loss, I think that if you are trying to eat a healthy, just live a healthy lifestyle, having consistent meals is a really, really good way to both make sure that you're meeting your nutritional needs, but also to give yourself a break from work. Meals can be really helpful to break up the monotony of a day, especially if you're the kind of person who works from home. So use them as an excuse to stretch, to take a break, to take a breather, go get some water, go pee, all of those fun things, except for the peeing. The peeing is just necessary. Please do pee. No one needs a UTI in this house, okay? So I just think that she should not skip a meal as much as she can. Maybe have stuff prepped, like make cold wraps and stuff like that. Keep them in the fridge. What I do is that I make wraps without any kind of dressing or sauce in them, and then I will just add sauce to it, or have little reusable containers of a dipping sauce that I can just take out and I can dip and I can eat, and that makes my life a little bit easier too. I don't believe in skipping meals for the most part. But, you know, if this works for her, then it works for me. She doesn't mention it in this video, but I really do hope that she is taking a B12 supplement. It is very important for vegans, but it is also pretty important for vegetarians. B12 is one of those things that's really only found in animal protein, and this is what I meant about veganism not necessarily being natural, right? We need to supplement for it. Not universally, of course, and if you have any concern, do talk to your doctor. I think some people can have an intrinsic factor that might be missing, and it might make it difficult for them to actually tolerate a B12 supplement, but that's very rare. And in most cases, B12 is vital for living properly. I mean, like, I will put up a screenshot of some of the terrible side effects of having a B12 deficiency. Another nutrient of concern for vegans and vegetarians is iron. It can be a little bit difficult to get if you are eating a plant-based diet. I would recommend not relying on spinach, which I've seen a lot of vegans and vegetarians do. Spinach is very high in oxalates, and that can actually have a negative impact on bioavailability of iron when it comes to digestion. What my recommendation would be is to have a lot of lentils. I know it can cause some gastric distress for people, but not for everyone. That's the best I can say. I mean, try it, right? What's the harm in having lentils? They're fairly cheap. They're inexpensive. They're shelf stable for like ever. And they're delicious if you know how to do them right. I recommend, if you guys want or are interested in it, let me know down below. And I have a lemon lentil soup recipe. It's absolutely delicious, and more importantly, the citrus from the lemon, the vitamin C in the lemon, really increases the bioavailability of the iron in the lentils, and that can really help you make sure that you're making the most out of the iron that you're actually eating. Well, that will be it from me. I hope you guys liked this video. Let me know if you enjoyed it. I can cover more vegan, vegetarian YouTubers too if you guys are interested in that. Leave me the names of some people down below if you're interested in watching them. And yeah, that will be it. Give me a thumbs up if you like this video. Give me a thumbs down if you hated it. That's totally okay. I respect everybody's opinion here. Subscribe if you haven't already subscribed. Hit the notification bell so that you know when I upload videos right away. And hit all if you want to know when I upload anything. I've got all my social medias linked down below. I've got my Instagram where it's all of the recipes, all my food stuff, and I've got my Twitter, where honestly I'm a tiny little bit toxic and a little bit petty, and also that's the easiest place to reach me. It's got all my channel updates and stuff like that. And if you want to interact with me, that's where you can do it. I've got my Patreon down there too. Think of Patreon as the tip jar for the internet. So if you like the job that I'm doing here and you want me to continue, please consider tossing a few coins in my direction. You don't have to, it's not necessary, but I would really, really appreciate it. All of your funds will go directly towards helping me replace this one brush that I have by Anastasia Beverly Hills. I got it forever ago and I love it, but it's dying and I don't know where to find a replacement. It's such a problem, you guys. This is a genuine issue, actually. If you guys know where I can get like a brush that's really, really comparable to this one, it has to be like super fine tipped because I'm weird about my eyebrows. Please let me know. I'm suffering so much, you guys. Please, please. As always, I'm Jasmine, the sequel, and I am not relatable. Peace. Maybe she's born with it. Maybe it actually is Maybelline.